Hello everyone. I want to start a new video series about the Linux operating system. And the target audience will be beginners. So people who have never used Linux or people who just want to learn this operating system. So first of all, in this video, we will see how to install Linux in a virtual machine. So this is the basic thing. And then in later videos, we will see how to use this operating system. We will cover the basic Unix or Linux commands, and I also want to show you some very useful softwares. For instance, Midnight Commander, which is a file manager, and we will see other softwares too. And the goal will be to build a comfortable development environment. And we will see how to write some basic Python programs at the end. So it would be the goal to build a nice development environment, and I want you to feel comfortable in the Linux environment. So let's see. Let's start with installing Linux in a virtual machine. We will install Ubuntu Linux, and we will install the latest long-term support version 16.04. Why will we use Ubuntu? It's a very popular Linux distribution, and I think it's a perfect choice for beginners. Not only for beginners, but for beginners I suggest trying Ubuntu first, and then later you can switch to a different distribution if you want. But for newbies, for new people, Ubuntu is the good choice in my opinion. And it has different versions. LTS means it's a long-term support version, which means that this version came out in 2016 in April, and it will be supported for 5 years. Let's see. Ubuntu releases, and here 16.04 is supported until the end of 2021. There are newer versions, for instance 17.04, but it's not a long-term support version. So it is supported only until January 2018. So I suggest installing and using an LTS version. There are some important concepts when working with virtual machines. The host operating system is your machine, your desktop or laptop machine, where you want to install the virtual machine. So this is the host. And the guest will be the Linux distribution, in this case Ubuntu, that you want to install in a virtual machine. In my case, I'm using Linux, actually Manjaro, on my home machine. So this is the host operating system, and in this I will install Ubuntu, and Ubuntu will be the guest operating system. There are some prerequisites. First of all, you will have to install VirtualBox. VirtualBox makes it possible to use virtual machines. So visit virtualbox.org. Here is the big button, download button. Download it and install it. Your host machine can be Windows, it's not a problem. Download and install it, and then you can also install Ubuntu on a Windows machine. I've already installed it, so here it is. Let's start it. If you start it for the first time, this list will be empty for you. I already have some virtual machines. You can simply ignore them. Another prerequisite is that you will have to download Ubuntu. It will be a big ISO file, so visit ubuntu.com, go to downloads, and we need the desktop version. Okay, it will offer immediately the LTS version. At the bottom there is a newer version, but as I mentioned, it is not supported for a long time. So I suggest the LTS version 1604 at the moment when I'm making this video. So download it. You can give them some money, but you don't have to. Not now. Take me to the download. And your download will start. Save it somewhere. I have already downloaded it, so I won't do it again. Here it is in my home folder in the downloads subdirectory. I have the ISO file. It's 1.5 gigabyte. And then we can start the installation. So start VirtualBox and let's create a new virtual machine. Click on new, name. I will give Ubuntu 16.04 and between parentheses, just to find it easily, I will type YouTube. It is made especially for this purpose. The type is recognized and the version Ubuntu 64-bit is also recognized just by the name. You can change it if you want to install a different version, but now we install Ubuntu 64-bit. Next. How much memory do we want to give for this virtual machine? I think 1 gigabyte is not enough. I give it 2 gigabyte. So for instance, if your host machine has 8 gigabyte memory, then from this 8 gigabyte we give 2 gigabyte for the guest. So when you start this virtual machine, your host machine will have only 6 gigabyte to use because 2 gigabyte is allocated for the virtual machine. Hard disk. Create a virtual hard disk. Okay. And choose the first one, VDI. Leave it dynamically allocated. And you can change the size. I will leave it on 10 gigabyte. Fine. And now click on Start. And now you will have to select the ISO file that we just downloaded. So I put it in my home folder, downloads. Here it is. Select the ISO file, open, and then start. And then the operating system will start. I will try to maximize it. Okay. And instead of trying, I want to install Ubuntu. English language is good, so install Ubuntu. And here you can select both of them. So download updates while installing, and we can install third-party software. It's not a problem. So continue. We are installing this Ubuntu in a virtual machine. So here we can select erase disk and install Ubuntu. However, if you want to create a dual boot machine, that is, when you start your machine, you want to select, for instance, between Windows and Linux, then choose something else. And then you can select, you can create your partitions, you can select into which partition you want to install Ubuntu and so on. So you can customize here, but since we are installing it in a virtual machine, it can erase everything because it uses a 10 gigabyte big file. Everything is installed in there, so it's good for us. Install now. Yeah, it will create some virtual partitions in that 10 gigabyte big file. Good. I live in this time zone, so this is good for me, but you can select your own time zone. And actually I use a Hungarian keyboard, so this is perfect for me. If you use a different keyboard, select your keyboard, continue. And here you can create a normal user for the system. So under Linux, you can switch to administrative mode. The administrator is called root, but when you use the system for everyday use, I suggest, or you need to use the system as a normal user. So let's create a normal user. Type your name, give a name to your machine, pick a username, choose a password, type it again. And since we are using a virtual machine, we can select login automatically. If you install it normally, that is not in a virtual machine but as a dual boot system, then don't choose this, of course. But in a virtual machine, it is perfectly acceptable. Continue. And now it will install everything, copy, do the updates. So it will take some time. So until the end of the installation, I will pause this video. Okay, the installation is complete. The process took about 15 minutes. And now the system wants to reboot itself. So restart now. Press enter. Okay, so here is our freshly installed Ubuntu. Here you can see some keyboard shortcuts. I will close it by clicking on the X. Okay, and the first thing that we should do is insert guest additions, CD image. If it's not downloaded, it will do it. And install the guest additions. It will start automatically, if I remember correctly. Maybe click on it. Okay, no. So it asks us if we want to run it. Yes, let's run it. Provide our password that we provided when we installed the system. And now it will install some modules that will make the integration between the host and the guest better. So for instance, if you install this, then you can share the clipboard between the host and the guest. If you select something and put some text on the clipboard on the host, you come to the guest, you can paste it here, for instance. Fine. Everything was installed. Press return to close this window. And when you are ready with the installation, it's a good idea to download an update script. I will give it to you, and keep your system updated with this script. So I put this script here. You don't need to copy this address because I will put it under the video, and let's download it. But let's do it inside the virtual machine. Let's start Firefox, and I will type here the address of this update script, but as I said, I will copy it under the video, so you will find it there. So here it is. It is called Good Shape. It's a shell script. Let's download it, save file, and it was downloaded in our home folder in the downloads directory. Fine. Let's open a console. At the moment we have this very simple Xterm, but later we will install a better terminal. So let's enter the downloads directory, and here we have this script. So this is an updater script. It will install newer versions of softwares, of packages. So let's start it. sh00 good shape. Let's provide our password, and it will download a lot of packages, in my opinion. Okay, it is back. So as you can see, it wants to update a lot of packages, and it also wants to update the kernel. So it will download 224 megabyte. Yes, we accept it. Press enter or press capital Y, and it will update all your packages. It will take some time, so let's pause again. The installation is ready. It took about 10 minutes. Now we can close this terminal window. You can press Ctrl D, that is, you press Ctrl and D, and then it will close. Or another method for closing is simply clicking on the close button of the window. So here, close. Fine. Let's remove this CD icon from here because the guest additions are already installed. Right click on it and unlock from launcher. And here up at the top, under devices, select shared clipboard. It is disabled by default. Select bidirectional. It means that you can copy text on the clipboard from the host to the guest and in the other direction too. So bidirectional. Fine. So we are ready with a basic installation of an Ubuntu system. We have an update script that we put in the downloads directory, and actually I run this script every day. So I run this script daily to keep my system updated. Fine. In the next videos, we will see how to use a Linux system, how to make it comfortable, how to use the basic Linux commands. So that's what I want to cover in the future. Thank you for your attention.